Winning new business in the cleaning and facility services industry isn't just about having the best proposal. It's about giving clients confidence that everything will run smoothly after the contract is signed. And for many, that's where the deals are won and that's where the deals are lost. Today, we will explore a growing challenge in the industry and how contractors can overcome it, and the facilities that hire them have peace of mind. And to do this, I'm pleased to welcome Randy Burke and Jason Little with DCS Global. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you on our program. Let's hear who you are. Randy, start us off.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks so much. This is Randy Burke, CEO, contractor for many, many years, and opened a consulting business and been doing that now, geez, over 20 years. And yeah, Jason.
Thank you, Randy, and pleasure to be here, Jeff. I'm Jason Little, Director of Operations with DCS. Been in a high-level janitorial capacity for the last 23 years as a subject matter expert, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you both for your time today. Randy, I think we're going to have you start us off. Talk about what we're going to get into today in this program you're offering the industry.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how we, through natural demand, we had our property and facility management clients ask us to support contractors, and traditionally we hadn't done that. But we've been doing it for about a year now, and we found that really there's three areas I think we can really help contractors close business and improve margins.
Appreciate that. If you guys are ready, I have some questions for you. And I believe, Randy, we'll start with you on each one, and Jason, you can add comments as well. So, are you ready?
You bet.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Now, Randy, you believe the contractors are losing deals not because of their proposal, but also because of transition concerns. What are clients really worried about during that transition period? Talk about that.
Yeah. So what we see now, particularly post-COVID, is property facility managers are really pressed for time. So I remember when I was selling contracts, what would a natural occurrence to the client was, wow, do I have time to manage this? And do I have the skill set? And so it's a natural objection, and sometimes it's not even voiced, but it's real. So again, what we've looked at is how can we support that? And really, what we do is we start to support the contractor in this process through tenant communications, helping build a relationship, looking around the corner for issues because often this is when we've done an RFP, but we also do it when we haven't. And so there's a lot that we can carry the load off of property and facility management, which is essentially taking away that objection.
It also is to help alleviate that nervousness in transitioning from your current provider into a new account. So a lot of facility managers, they do get a little bit nervous. They want to make the change, but they don't want to follow through because they don't want to go through the headache. So having a third-party provider like DCS help manage your transition and all the nuances and aspects as a mediator helps make it flow more smoothly, and everybody seems to feel more comfortable and at ease.
Thank you, Jason. And Randy, one of your core offerings is third-party transition oversight. I like that. Third-party transition oversight. How does bringing in an outside expert change the dynamic between the client and the contractor?
It's interesting. Third party is really important because we really are watching out for, the interests of both the service provider and the property manager. And they're different. And as Jason mentioned, there's a lot that, we add, which is, let's call it being subject matter experts on the contracting side, and give some focus and attention for the service provider so that they see all angles of challenges and opportunities. And similarly for the property manager, it's about, hey, they just need to know what's going on. And, if they've got concerns, sometimes it's hard to talk to your service provider, I really don't like that person or whatever, where as a third party, they'll tell us exactly what's going on, and we can communicate it and provide solutions to the service provider.
Okay, so Jason, you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, seeing the same thing. And as you're going through the process of RFPs and you build that relationship, everybody feels more comfortable once you're working together and having that relationship go forward all the way from the post startup or the pre startup to the post startup, and all those aspects. So, yeah, very valuable.
Jason brought up a good point in my mind is that we tend to exit the relationship. Like we want to set things up, but we don't want to get in the way. So once the startup has happened, great. And typically it lasts 30 to 60 days after startup. We're out of there. We may come back and do audits from time to time, but I think it's important. We want to set this relationship up to win and not get in the way.
Randy, you said that this service can actually help contractors win more business. We've got their attention now because everyone wants to win more business. Can you walk us through how this becomes a sales advantage during the bidding process?
Yeah, you bet. I'd like to talk about. I've got a slide here. I'd like to talk about some of the projects that we've done. We had a large retail owner, and this is actually how it started. Over a year ago, and the contractor had the contract for like 8-9 years since the beginning of the opening of a couple of the centers, and we did the RFP, and there was all the upgrades in the contract, and new language, you name it, and so they were concerned that the staff on site would not change. And as much as the ownership of the contractor saying, yeah, we got it. And so they said to the contractor, tell you what, we like the idea of giving you the contract. We want to give it back to you, but we're really busy. How about you engage DCS to assist in your transition? And that's how it started. And it went really well. And so, that was 1.5 million square feet, 4 centers. Again, we had done the RFP. The annual contract value was 5.7 million. And I'd like to, what's our fees, right? And so, in that case, it was a lot of work. We had to travel. It was $70,000 to $90,000. So that was kind of the range, one-time cost. So there was another one. It was and this happened shortly after that, large office and retail complex. 5 office towers surrounding a retail center. Same thing, same work. Total contract value was about 7.6 million annually. And it was a little easier for us. We got to know. So, our cost range was in the $40,000 to $60,000 one-time cost. And then we just one more. It was a Class A office portfolio. 6 buildings, cleanable square feet, just over 1 million. And same. We did the RFP. And the transition support was in the $30,000 to $40,000 range for us, but the total contract annual value was 6.4 million. So we try and balance, what we cost, making sure that the contract value itself more than carries it.
I would trade $40,000 for 6 or 7 million myself, but I understand this is business.
Yeah, we've been contracted out to do lots of projects, and we do some great work where we'll manage expectations all the way through the relationship. Sometimes we'll also provide that kind of intimate feedback where the client, as Randy says, not comfortable with going back and forth, and really nailing out what's going to be a particular a nice strong contract to come, because sometimes the clients are the contractors. When you win a contract, you're nervous, you don't want to speak up, and then you'll just deal with it till it bottles up sometimes. So we help iron all that out. We'll be the mediators, the bad guy, the good cop in between, and we help get that everlasting contract right from the start. So
thank you, Jason. Randy, let's talk about operational excellence. When you go into an existing account, what are the most common issues you're seeing that are hurting performance or profitability that your program can help with?
I'm going to mostly let Jason speak to this. What I would say is that Jason and his team have a ton of experience at this. And this is a really evolving industry. And I'm just going to turn it over to Jason about what he does and how he does it. But we're really successful. We do a lot of this work, typically for, it's got to be a contract, of course, that they've got, not what they might get. But Jason?
Yeah, no, operational excellence is a very key integral part of what we do. Say you have an account coming up for rebid, or you want a fresh eyes look, or you have some kind of specific problem, that's where we can come in. We offer a variety of services from A to Z. Or if you want a specific issue that we can look at, we look at that. And that entails anything from product testing, white papers, innovation testing, reorganizing your org chart with best practices and the latest innovations. Anything from A to Z is pretty much what we can do for the operational excellence. And it's really good because you'll see a lot of times that we'll have RFPs, and a lot of bidders will propose different types of technologies. And a lot of the times they haven't implemented any of these technologies. So what we offer is we'll do the pilot testing, suggest the best in class robotics sensors and other programs, come to your site, and we'll set it up for a 2-3 week proof of concept, and we'll get you the real intimate data on site within that environment. And you can always take it, replicate it, and go on. So what we do is we set you up with the best partners that we've come across that are industry standard leaders, and we implement that all as a whole. Also, with operational excellence, we also get into the hybrid and outcome model, where we're seeing a lot more of, where we'll develop, where we integrate the robots and the sensors for on-demand cleaning to go to the restrooms and key areas as you need to. So we love teaching, we love doing all that. And another part of the operational excellence that we recently added onto it is the training program. So after I spend a week or two on site with all your folks, or my team is spent on site, we do a training program tailored to your environment based on what we've seen, the audits and the misses and areas of opportunities. So you also get that feedback in that program as well on top of that. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. But anything A to Z, pretty much with janitorial, we pretty much can look at and help you with and give you some good ideas.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Randy, I have a true or false question. Do contractors deal with tight margins?
Tell me about it. I mean, it really, the race to zero is on. And especially post-COVID, I mean, occupancy is down here and there. People are tougher renegotiating leases, working from home. So it is a new day. And so absolutely, margins are tight, and we empathize. We got lots of different ways that we can work in, and I'm going to drift a bit to our RFP service, where we've added a lot of items above the line in terms of technology, training, and such, so that doesn't come out of overhead or profit. So yeah, I mean, we're ex-contractors. Like, I mean, we've lived it. So we're working with everybody to try and make this a high value industry.
So anything else that your service will help with that? Any specifics you'd like to share on that?
Well, I guess when we really look at where we're going, is one of the big things we do is contract renegotiations. So RFPs come up, people, property facility managers sometimes have to go to market, so be it. But a lot of times they don't. In other words, so a third party contract renegotiation satisfies a lot of the due diligence requirements so that they don't go to RFP. So if a service provider has in fact a good relationship, which many do, contract renegotiation essentially is a friendly process where we work with both parties. We typically, once we get the green light, and that's generally just the service provider would soft sell, the property facility manager on the idea that it happens all the time, so to speak, and that, a third party can do this and satisfy, as I mentioned earlier, the requirements for due diligence. So what happens is, again, soft sell the property manager, and we get an e-intro. And then from there, we contact the client, explain the process. They like it. We do a proposal. We get on the project. And then essentially, we work mostly closest with the service provider. They know what's really going on in the cleaning. So typically a spec has to be rewritten. We need a new budget, depending on the goals of the property facility manager. Maybe they want to reduce cost a bit, maybe not. So we really do work closely with the service provider and say, what's possible? What do you want to change? What needs to be tweaked? So we'll write a new spec, new operating conditions, all that. Then we go back to the property manager and say, you know what? Here's what we think, and we've checked with your service provider, and this is a good thing. Or so they say yes, but so we'll, whatever the buts are, we'll go back to the property manager, the service provider, and basically make sure things are okay. So we go back and forth until we get something that really does work in terms of a new contract. Present that to the property facility manager, get the green light, give them everything they need to actually sign a new contract, and bingo, it happens. And, we've been doing this quite a while now. We've never had somebody go back on it. We actually guarantee it. And our guarantee is that if, in fact, for some reason, the property facility manager later goes out to RFP within a year, we will not do the RFP. It's very successful. And who doesn't want to renew a contract?
Jason, anything to add to that?
It's all about the relationships and keeping the current provider in the current contract and doing it in a unique way, not having to go out to bid.
Now, Randy, you've touched on this a bit. You're working with contractors and facility managers, the property owners. What's the disconnect that you're seeing there?
I think people, like I say, property managers and contractors are busy. And so having a subject matter expert in whatever we do in the market is very much focused on a win-win relationship. And that's why we get repeat business. We do what we do to make sure that there is, in fact, something that's going to last. And so, we've been on both sides of the coin, spend a lot of time getting things right and listening. And then, of course, in particular with Jason's group, having, we see everybody's stuff, so to speak. I mean, proposals go through us all the time. And so we see a lot of the latest innovations and what works, and we bring that to bear on all the projects.
Appreciate that. And Jason, anything?
Thanks, Randy. Sometimes what the clients and the providers don't have is the resources, and that's where we give our leading industry knowledge and we help everyone feel comfortable, and we provide and fill that gap with giving you the information you need. Because sometimes, to be fair, you don't know what you don't know, and that's where we come in and help out.
So further to contract renegotiation, I've got a slide here I'd like to share, and again, it's along the same lines in that we had an office portfolio of almost 5 million square feet. It was 30 buildings, which, the overall contract value is just over $8 million. Our fee to renegotiate that was between 50 and 70K. But, the reality was the client had gone to RFP previously and now was really happy the way things were going 3 years later. And so, again, they knew us and they knew the contractors. They were happy. So we were able to go in there and do exactly what we do and renegotiate the contract, and they re-signed another term. Another smaller one, there was one single office building. It was 350,000 square feet. Pardon me, it was two small buildings totaling 350. And the value was just under $1 million annual contract value. Our fee was $7,000 to $9,000. So again, depending on the scope and how many buildings we've got and all that, it really does slide. And then we did a retail shopping center complex. It was one shopping center. 3.4 million was the renegotiated contract value. Our fee was between $27,000 and $33,000. So I just wanted to share some of that. Gives an idea of exactly what we do and approximate cost value.
Thank you, Randy. Well, how can people learn more? Those watching want to engage your services. They want to benefit from it. Wrap it up with that.
Yes, absolutely. So, this slide shows, again, the three main services we just spoke about, our contacts information there. We're as close as the phone. Call Jason or I, email, we'll get back to you. And it always starts with a conversation. What's the situation? Total confidentiality. So yeah, let's have a conversation. We'll see if we can help you out. We know that again, this works, and we've got an offer. Again, we want to meet new people. We want to do more work. So with your first project with DCS, we're going to take 40% off. It's a bit of a steep bite for us, but we want to meet service providers and help them grow their business. So yeah, get in touch with us, and we will help you out, and I'm sure you'll be satisfied.